What's up, you guys? ShartimusPrime here, doing an exclusive interview over here on the Zoom with the man himself of McFarlane Toys, Mr. Todd McFarlane. Welcome to the Dork Room.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for giving me the time. I know that everybody's sort of getting the hang close to their collection a little bit longer than they'd like to, right? So we're not used to being this close every day to our own collection, but it's not bad. It's not bad. If you, I mean, you know, again, I'm from a comic book point of view, Russ. I'm used to being in a room, sort of creating on my own, anyways, right? So for years and years, I was doing social distancing. It was called being a comic book artist. So this isn't sort of a new exercise that we're doing here. So.
Right. For me as well, I spend a lot of time in my garage recording YouTube videos by myself. And the biggest change is I've been reading more comic books lately. And so, yeah, I've kind of indulged more and more, and I've been taking more and more photos and having a lot more fun with my toys and my figures. So
can I just go on record too and say that I appreciate people like you, and there's dozens like you, so don't get your head too big, but that I think this is an important time for us to continue to engage geekdom and fandom and whatever you want to call it, because our normal way of doing it has been sort of thrust away from us. So, you know, tip of the hat to people like you that just keep engaging the fandom, because I think that is one of the giant pieces here that if I'm afraid of anything, it's disengaging with the fans, right? And I think that, you know, because we have such a relationship back and forth between fans and creators, that we can't just ignore that during a shutdown. So kudos for people like you to just keep the lifeblood going.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I feel lucky to be able to do this, and it just makes me want to dig in even more. So being in this situation is just kind of, it's just brought more light onto the fun factor of being able to do it just at all. That it's just, and then seeing you participate in it as well. I mean, you've been posting more, and especially with the Kickstarter. I jumped on the Kickstarter for the new Spawn figures. I jumped in for the classic. Yeah, I wanted the classic. I went for the classic, and you've been posting updates over there, and it's been really fun watching you. I feel like from my end, it's been a lot of fun watching you be even more engaging. So, yeah. Kudos to you.
Well, I think part of it too is that I don't know how their Kickstarter crowdfunding go. Making toys can be a pretty slow, elaborate process. So I think that it's important not only to sort of tip your hat and say thank you and give people some extras, but also show them that the process has begun, right? So, you know, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, we posted, you know, us getting our first sample of a working prototype, you know, and I wanted to show them how it all worked on video, just so they can go, oh my God, doesn't it just going to wait for 2 months and then start making it? I'm already baking the cake, so that they can, you know, hopefully get it, you know, as soon as possible, and especially in America, that, you know, you get it before Christmas, right? So.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we do get them on schedule if everything goes well. But of course,
that's the only unknown right now. Is that you know, everything is now an estimate, because you don't know what's going to happen between now and then. You know, the whole world could get even crazier. So.
Right. But for the time being, it is awesome to see the updates and all the energy and work being put into this.
And it's low. And here's the thing that I find a little bit sort of fun. I've been looking at a lot of Kickstarter for other people, and they do it way slicker than I do, right? They've got all these fancy commercials, and they got all this other stuff, and I'm like, just grab a camera and just talk to them. And so if you need polish, you know, again, if anybody ever comes out to my office, I think they'd be greatly disappointed at my office because it doesn't have any windows. And it's,
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you have like the highest end special effects team in Hollywood over there. I saw that Dr. Evil getup. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking.
That was my wife's pantyhose. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know I took it. So, yeah, again, you just go, and I'd probably do it just as low key if I was at the office, right? Because as I've always said, let people think that I have a big building and I've got a penthouse office so that I can save all that money instead of basically doing it for the visuals and for, people coming and trying to impress people. Just take all that savings and put it into the product, right? At the end of the day, the guy who's living in Scandinavia or South Dakota, they don't care about all the rest of that stuff, right? They just care about the product. And so to me, like, I'm not here to impress anybody that about my office or anything, the kind of cars I drive, whatever else. I take all that money and I just go, how do we make the best product? Because eventually, then I think that we'll, have a better chance of succeeding and having people come and say, yeah, I'll support you. It's a quality product at a fair price. You've been doing it for a while. We trust you. Okay, I'll jump on the bandwagon. Cool. Right?
Well, the great thing about that is like, yeah, you're just focusing on what really matters most. And what's happening when you're doing, or I don't know if other people are seeing this because, or people that aren't part of the Kickstarter are seeing all the add-ons, but as I see these videos and I see more and more stuff being presented, and it kind of, it would make me feel like you're missing out. I was missing out on something if I wasn't a part of the Kickstarter. So I feel like that, focusing on the product just probably by word of mouth, people talking about it and like, they've added new heads and everything, and you get the brand new sculpts and you can interchange them with each other and all that stuff. I think word of mouth, if these videos aren't all public, I'm assuming they're not all public. I've seen the posts through my email on the Kickstarter, but I don't know if you publicize all of the goodies.
It's interesting, Russ. We've been talking about just doing a couple of little add-ons and never telling anybody. Just let them be surprised when they open it up in November or December and go, oh my God, he never said anything about that piece. So, just because, for no other reason than just because it'd be sort of fun. Kickstarter is an interesting, not Kickstarter, crowdfunding, I guess, is interesting because they call them stretch goals. I never heard the term, which is basically like, if you give me more money, then I'll give you something, right? And I keep trying to do it the opposite. I keep trying to say, hey, you've given me plenty of money. I'm going to give you something for free. And it's funny how many of the fans are going, no, make stretch goals. And like, I'm trying to give it to you for free. I'm trying to basically make it a number that we've already passed. So it's free or a number that we're gonna hit in about 18 seconds. So, but they're like, no, come on, you gotta make me give you more money. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, there's a weird psychology with that. There's a weird psychology with that. There's kind of, it's. I can only speak for myself, but it's almost like the same effect. Like if a very, very attractive woman comes up to me and talks to me, I'm like, whoa, what's wrong with her? Like that, there's something not right.
Yeah.
So it's like if it's something, it's kind of like, whoa.
The other thing too is it's like this interesting logic here too of that they're like, well, if you hit this number, you must give me more, right? And it's like, I'll continue to try and do as best I can, but at some point, I've only got so much because I actually got to make the toy and I got to ship it and got to do a bunch of stuff and I got to try and pay for employees now that are not doing a lot of work because they're at home and our businesses are slowing down and there's no comic books and all those other things. But it's weird because it's like we don't do that with any other product, right? Mm-hmm. Like we don't sit there and go, hey, I'm going to buy this can of beans. But I know you've sold 20,000 cans of beans this week, Mr. Grocer. So what else are you giving me? Can you throw in like a tomato with my can? Like you either just want the can of tomatoes or the can of beans, and you don't. Like it's weird. We don't buy blue jeans and go, hey, Levi Jeans, you've made $10 million, so I should get something more. Like they just offered the product at the price. You make a decision, you go home. And here it's like this weird sort of kabuki thing, but it's an interesting experience for me so far because the vast, like 99% of the people are super positive or are very kind in their constructive criticism and or wants and opinions, right? Mm-hmm. Which I appreciate. I don't expect anybody to sit there and like everything that I do. Just if you want to make a comment, just do it in an adult fashion, no big deal. Especially if you're an adult, right? Kind of a low bar. I've always been surprised, actually, with all my social media, at how gentle and nice and mature the people are, right? I read all about these other people go, there's haters and you got all these people on social media. I don't know why they stay away from me because, I mean, you get the odd one, big deal. But, you know, I've never had an onslaught of people that usually do what they're doing now in the Kickstarter is saying, hey, in a kind way, wouldn't it be cool if, right? Hey, Todd, could you do this? You know, have you ever thought about doing that? All of that is actually good information, and I appreciate the input.
Well, I think that may be the reason why, is because people are actually seeing you make changes and actually hearing the fans and trying out different ideas. I mean, I could just think of it like in the last 5 years, the variety and different changes of different types of product that you've manufactured, produced is just, it's just amazing to see it change and the ideas kind of come in and out and doing new things like adding the articulation and stuff. That's something that you'd heard a lot from, and you've jumped into it and you're in that world now.
Yeah. Here's the other thing too, Russ, is that, this is like my first crack at it. Right. And so I don't feel compelled that I've got to do everything this first time out. Right. Light up eyes, the electronic sounds, glow in the dark, like 1,000 piece articulation, 8 times the K. Like, I mean, at some point it becomes sort of, I think, a mixed message, and it become a bit of a Frankenstein. I think that what you have to do is just say, hey, this particular offering was just sort of a wink to the original figure that helped literally kickstart, no pun intended, kickstart my toy company way back in 1994, 95. And it was just sort of paying homage to that, not trying to solve every single toy problem with the one figure, right? I think there will be other opportunities for me to take some of these ideas that they've been suggesting and put them in another figure, another offering at another time. Perhaps not even a Spawn figure, right? Because I think that there's opportunities here for, you know, maybe some DC Multiverse product, maybe some other brands that we're talking about internally that we want to go after. That Walmart and Target will not. They're not built to take. For example, I'll give you for example. Years ago, I drew Batman. It was Batman year 2. I did a few issues. And if somebody was to say, hey, Todd, gun to your head, wouldn't it be cool if you could do a toy of your own drawing? Yeah, the answer is yeah, absolutely. So what Batman drawing would I pick? I picked the ones with the big giant capes on. Mm-hmm. I can't sell that cape at Walmart and Target because I can't get it in the box, right? But now here's a potential outlet called crowdfunding, or even my own .com or whatever, where I can now say, hey, here's a figure this big, but the cape is 3 times bigger than the figure, and it's super cool. And you're not limited by box sizes and price points and all those things that I have to deal with when I'm dealing with sort of, you know, big Fortune 500 companies. You can just go, what's the coolest thing you can make? And now there's a pipeline that you can maybe get that idea directly, a one and done idea that's super cool that you can now sit out there and say, hey, yeah, it's a possibility. Everything's now possible. Everything's now possible.
So is that what you say? Because there may be people out there thinking like, well, why are you starting a Kickstarter? You've been in the business. Your company is successful. This is McFarlane Toys is not new. Why are you doing this? My mentality behind it was, hey, I see this as an opportunity for him to get nuts. Let's get nuts. I want to see what I want to see him just go for it. How would you explain the reason for?
I think that's a big piece. Anything we can come up with, we can now do, and I don't have to necessarily have a brand that goes with it. The other piece, which is actually more pragmatic, is that the big stores we deal with, they're not built for one item. They're not built for one and done. They don't have space for that. You never walk in and say, I've got this one idea, I want you to sell for 2 months and then I'm done, right? Unless it's seasonal and you're saying, hey, I'm selling swimsuits because it's summer. But that's someplace else. In the toy aisle, they expect you to come in with a handful of figures and they expect you to rotate those figures out on a 365-day program. That's what they do. That's how their business model is made. And they do it quite well because they make billions of dollars in revenue. So for me to come in and go, hey, I've got this really super cool Batman I want to do, this super cool Spawn or whatever it is, take whatever character. And I present the idea, the machine can accommodate it. So I have two choices. I either just don't make it or I find other places that will accommodate it. The internet as a whole is a great equalizer. It will accommodate it. And crowdfunding is a place that will accommodate it even more. So that's it. I understand that maybe 80% or more are people who are doing something entrepreneurial on crowdfunding for the very first time. Good for them. I encourage all of them. It shouldn't prevent those of us that have been there to say, hey, well, we got crazy ideas too. We shouldn't be punished because we've had some success prior to this. Here's a cool idea, whether it's the kid in the basement or me, it shouldn't matter. Just spend your money on a product that you think is worthy of your time and effort and price and quality and take it home. And if that's that person, good on them. And if it's my product, then good on me. Let the cream rise to the top. So I don't think there should be any rules as to who can or cannot do crowdfunding, right? I mean, I keep saying, someday if I get too mad, I'm going to crowdfund the movie. I need 20 million people to give me $1, right? $1 each. Come on, everybody, $1. Let's go. We'll make movies together. Okay. It should be more of this is sort of the open prairies that you can do anything now. And because you've seen these Kickstarters where it's somebody who's never done it before and they go, if you could give me $10,000 and they get like $500,000, right? Those are super cool, fun stories to hear about. So it allows everybody from the newbies to the professionals to sort of be swimming in the same playground. I think it's fun.
Cool. Yeah, no, and it's been fun to see on this end too. So I'm personally not one of those people that doesn't think you should, but I'm sure there are people that have thought that, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'll solve the problem. If you think that shouldn't happen, don't buy it. Done. Problem solved. We solved it in 2 seconds.
Amazing.
Next topic. Right?
Yeah. So, but sticking with the Kickstarter though, I wanted to ask a couple of questions about it. Are people able to buy multiple figures through the Kickstarter?
Russ, it's interesting. It's the one piece that was really the most shocking to me. That we were at day one and people going, hey, how can I buy multiples? And I'm like, oh, there's got to be a way. And then I phoned the Kickstarter people and they're like, no. And so I'm like, I guess I'm used to going like eBay sometimes, where it says how many quantities you want, right? And you do it or lots of websites. You can go to Amazon or whatever, how many quantities you want. So I want 4 white shirts and you click it and they'll send you 4 white shirts. It's weird to me after all this time, they don't have that built into their system. And I understand that because you have to then prorate the shipping because the more product you put together, the cheaper the shipping should get. But that should be on us, the people that are doing it. We just have to do it. So if you go to a multiple of 2, then it just kicks in the 2 times shipping, which is a savings of 20% or 30% or whatever. But there's 2 ways to beat it. You either do it, because I've talked to the Kickstarter, you either do it at the end with sort of a third party, and you just sort of do a survey and then whatever they want, and then you add it on at the end. Or you can do it the other way, which is what we're going to do, and we're going to post it today after this, literally after this interview. It's my very next thing I'm doing, which is you just post another tier. And so what happens is, for those that have been paying attention to the Kickstarter, you can get like a classic spawn, $40, and then you can get and again, these are unsigned, classic spawn, $40, or you can get a modern spawn, $40, or you can get an artist group, $40, right? Either one of those, right? But if you buy one, you can't combine them, and you can't buy multiple. So what we're going to do is say, hey, here's a tier. It's 2 classic spawns for $80, right? Like, you're going to save on shipping, but okay. And then here's one that's, maybe I'll even do one. Here's 3 classic spawns, or here's 2 classic spawn, 1 signed, 1 isn't signed, or here's a 2-pack. You can get the modern, 1 modern and 1 classic, both unsigned. Like, and I'll just put probably about 5 or 6 of those down there. I might even do, one that's like a 6-pack, which would be, you get the 3-pack twice, or some, I don't know. We'll put it there. I'm sure that I'll get it wrong, and I'll have a bunch of people voicing the version that I missed, and then I can just quickly add that one, right? I'll look through the comments. I'll actually encourage people to comment and tell me if we missed it, so that I can then add it in the next 3, 4, 5 days. But we'll come out with probably 3 to 5 layers of multiples, and then probably add another 2, and then just call it a day, because it can get too crazy with trying to figure out all the variations that people may or may not want.
Excellent. Good to hear. Now, how much are we able to talk about the prototype that we saw in the Kickstarter video? Because I don't want to reveal anything that may not be something that you want to reveal right now. Because I
talk about everything. What are you talking about?
Oh, all right. Let's do it.
Oh, there. Like, what are you talking about?
Excellent.
Yesterday, I wanted to show it, to show how he moves, right?
Yeah.
How accurate he looked to the first one, and he moved, because there seems to be some concern that people are like, does he move? Right? And it's like, well, there's a video that shows, but so I wanted to show it, right? So even look at I'm even gonna solve it for a lot of people too, who to go, Todd, he's got a twist of a hip. We're gonna solve it right here, right?
Oh,
okay.
cut.
So there's the picture I took, and all you gotta do when you get your toy is just go.
Oh, right there at the hip. Oh,
and now he's straight. Done. Problem solved. It's an action figure. If you don't want the hip bent, don't bend it. Like, I just happened to take a picture where I thought he looked cooler with the bent, but you don't have to bend it. Matter of fact, you don't even have to bend the arm. I took a picture of his arm bent. If you don't want to bend the arm, like, it's an action figure. Like, dude, I took one picture, and everybody somehow thinks that that's the only pose that it goes into. And it's like, no, he goes into a lot of poses.
And there's a cut in the diaphragm in the middle of the figure too, right? There's a cut right there in the diaphragm. I think.
Yeah. So when we did the original sculpt, which is here, obviously this one isn't articulated, right? So I had to pick a pose, and it's a pose that toy will actually go into, right? It doesn't mean that you, once you buy it, once you open it up, have to put it in that pose. It's just the pose that Todd picked. You pick your own pose, right? That's why it's an action figure. It gets to do everything you want it to do. So.
If you have it standing just in a very static, neutral pose, will that seam line will it go down straight, or will it continue to kind of still steer off to the side a little, though? I think that may be the thing that people are talking about. Is if you have it all centered and you have them standing like a sardine.
Yeah. Will it be? If you're asking me, will it be as bland as all the other characters and toys out in the marketplace? No.
No.
So, did I add a little bit of sexy to it? Yes. Does the sexy limit him from doing any pose that the bland one can do? No. This is the piece that's weird to me, that it's like, I add sexy, it can go in the exact same poses as if the chest was perfectly lined up, it would be but whatever you do with your lined up version, whatever pose you can put that toy in, this one will do the exact same thing. So it's just that when you go back to the A pose, mine won't be as bland as theirs. And as an artist, I'll take that criticism. You know, why isn't yours as boring as theirs looking, Todd? So, okay, it's a weird thing. It will do 99% of what every other figure will do, and my 1% pose, which is my A pose, is slightly off the boring, bland pose from my perspective. So, and why don't I do it the same way? Because it's boring and bland from my perspective. So I'm an artist. This is why I started this company, right? So if I basically adhered to, why don't you just do what everybody else is doing, I'd still be making bad looking toys because I'd been practicing what was out in the marketplace when I walked into it in 1995, right? The answer is you just try stuff and you do stuff, and it's so negligible. It's so negligible what we're talking about. It's like a 1% shift off. It's not perfect, but it just adds to me a little more of a natural pose when you have it on your shelf, right? A lot of toys I see in your background that to me are static, right? They're very static and they're boring. Here's the thing that's really interesting too, Russ. Every toy, for the most part, only really has one pose, the A pose, right? Because once you start moving a leg or an arm, right, the anatomy is incorrect, right? Here's my shoulder right here, right? So this is my shoulder. If I raise my arm, I can actually get my shoulder to touch my head, because that's just naturally how we work. You can't do that with a toy because this plastic doesn't move, right? So what happens is you can get an arm to go all the way up, but you're still going to have this gap. In real life, you don't have the gap. Why? Because we've got anatomy that works. We've got a million moving parts. So the moment you move any of your action figures out of the A pose, you're breaking accuracy anatomically, which is okay because it's just the nature of the beast. But the fun part is you can put it in 1,000 poses. Mine will still go in 1,000 poses. It's like, so it will go into all those 1,000 poses too, right? You can.
So what I want to do is take the Spawn figure and put him into those awesome Todd McFarlane poses that I see from the panels. Like I love the idea of getting my Spawn figure in that crouch, elbows in the thighs.
Yeah,
on the cross like that.
This is not going to be that figure.
Hey, new ShartimusPrime videos. Hey, you should click one. Yeah, click on one of them. Or subscribe if you haven't.